to drop. And here we go. Welcome, everyone, to the Awesemo Morning Show. Good morning. Get that cup of coffee. Let's get ready to rock. We got a lot to talk about today. Dave Loughran, Josh Engleman, Ben Rasa, getting down and dirty with some NFL discussion and a little bit of interesting news that we've gotten on the will sports start back up front. We're all hoping yes. We're about to find out. Trying to stay optimistic, but also realistic at the same time. How we doing today, fellas?
It was good until I saw myself in a still frame of the show looking like it's a mugshot. Looks terrible.
Yeah, you do have the mugshot vibe going with that shirt. That'll get you.
I don't like it.
Yeah, well.
New shirt?
Might turn someone on. So
First
anyway.
one I saw.
Ben, what's up, Ben?
Not much. Happy Tuesday. Ready to go, like you said. We got some news trickling in the DFS world, which is always exciting. And then we got a lot of football to get to.
Yes, we do. So let's get it started. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you all with us. Andrew, Nicholas, Caden, Zen, everyone in chat. We'll be paying attention to the chat, of course, all day or all morning. And if you say something interesting, we're probably going to talk about it. So we've got we've got some big news, and we're going to try and get into all of this. Obviously, it depends on what you consider big news, but we got to start with a tweet from Jeff Passan. Passan? I always get that wrong.
Passan.
Ooh, really?
See, I don't know about that.
I'm almost positive it's Passan.
Ben?
I'm going Passan.
Yeah, I'm going Passan too. But anyway, whether it's Passan or Passan, it's Jeff Passan. And he dropped a tweet yesterday that read, at this point, almost everyone involved in the process agrees there will be baseball in 2020. The details are the tricky part. At ESPN, 20 questions dives into the details when, where, how, with a comprehensive look at who are driving it. Ben, there's no doubt that it's an optimistic take on all of this. I get that, right? Jake says it's passing. Boom, let's get it.
Why is he our arbiter here?
Because he put the hyphen in there, so legit.
We just ignore Adam M being like pretty sure Josh is right. That one gets skipped.
Well, he doesn't.
What does Adam M know?
He doesn't have the wrench next to his name, so
that's right.
That's on him.
Well,
anyway,
make him a moderator.
Yeah. So Ben, one thing we do know, and I'm just going to try and just going to be a quick synopsis of this because the article is lengthy, but as you guys just saw it up on the screen, a quick, brief take on what we're looking at here. Jeff Passan, who, according to Action Network, is as plugged in as anyone to the thinking of baseball execs, wrote on Monday that, and I quote, a number of people in the decision-making position see the following scenario as realistic. Finalize a plan in May, hash out an agreement with the players by the end of the month or early June, give players a week to arrive at designated spring location trainings, prepare for 3 weeks, start the season in July, play around 80 to 100 games, 80 to 100 game season in July, August, September, and October, hold an expanded playoff at warm weather neutral sites in November, end quote. Passan added that all the decision makers in and around the sport, quote, league officials, players, union leaders, owners, doctors, politicians, TV power brokers, team executives are all aligned. Again, league officials, players, union leaders, owners, doctors, politicians, TV power brokers, and team executive are all aligned that the MLB will start. When and where is much more up in the air, but generally when all parties involved are motivated to have something occur, the details get figured out. Your thoughts?
Well, I'll take the positive spin first. Obviously, we've always said they're not just going to wake up one day and say, all right, we're good to go. You need to have months of planning. So it is good that they're targeting, if this would say they're starting in May, I would say 0 chance, not because it's too early, because you can't get things up and running in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Having a 3-month runway to hit all those check marks that you talked about, Laffy, I think is the key. Now, will they hit them all? That's where I think we all differ in terms of the skepticism, but at least they have a plan of what they need to do by May, what they need to do by June, what they need to do by July to ultimately maybe salvage the season.
Josh?
I mean, I agree with everything that Ben just said in that you have to be preparing for this. I am not optimistic by anything that I've seen in here. 2 months is like a really long time. Ben and I were talking about it before the show started, that if we think back to like the amount of time from today until, let's just say, some point in time in July, if we look back on that now, what we knew about this, and which is basically nothing. Like we weren't prepared for this at all. This is a completely different time. There's so much that can happen in that next amount of time. I'm happy that they're shooting for July. I am not optimistic that happens. I think that would be like, we also talked about it before the show, that would, if we were setting a line on whether or not, like, let's just say mid-July was the date, that yes would be not the favorite here for seeing baseball games. I just don't know what to make of it anymore. I'm happy that they're working on it. I don't think the announcement means all that much.
Okay. Now I do, for the simple reason that this isn't just an idea floated out there. If Jeff Passan is correct, that's right, Jeff Passan, if he is correct, the idea that everyone is aligned on formulating a plan, that is at least more progress than we've had. So is it news in saying that we're guaranteeing a restart in July? No. Is it news in saying that everybody involved in the decision-making process is on the same page? I think it is. And as far as 2 months being a long time, I totally agree with that. But 2 months is also a long time. If we're using the 2 months as a long time reason to be pessimistic, you can use 2 months as a long time to be optimistic as well. In saying that we're unclear of where we're going to be then. So it's not just one side of the 2 months is a long time, in my opinion.
I also want to be wrong.
Of course. I hear you there. Realistic versus optimistic sometimes can differ. Now, this is something, again, I do think that last point that Luffy made is important. A lot can change for the better like I said, if this was 3 weeks down the road, it'd be hard to think of a huge turnaround in that time. But they have a plenty of time to get it innovative and ready. It's just there's a lot of hurdles between now and then that I think all need to be reached before they have a chance.
Fair enough take. It's going to be interesting, though. And look, Ben mentioned this, as long as we see some progress being made, at least in the decision-making process of trying to formulate some ideas, trying to figure something out, I think they will be ahead of the curve when it's time to start making moves, because they will have planned stuff out. Will that be 2 months from now? I don't know. But Steven says it's easier to move dates on what your plan looks like than have no plan. Yeah. Right. And I don't, honestly, he might be disagreeing with me. I'm not necessarily sure was being said there, but if you start putting a plan together early, even in the event that you're not ready by July, you might have some infrastructure in place to make that happen down the road. Now, Josh, there's another tweet here that you had come across this morning that we found pretty interesting. And by the way, we're going to keep you guys updated no matter what the news is as far as sports starting back up. Like, come here Monday through Friday every morning. We'll break it down, give you our take, and tell you what we think is going to happen. But there's another interesting tweet that we saw on the Premier League getting started back up, Josh, and the audience can see it on the screen right now.
Yeah, and not even just that. Another tweet literally just came out regarding Ligue 1, so the French football league. They're done. Big sporting events will not be able to take place before September. The 1920 season, notably for football, will not be able to resume. That is a quote from the French Prime Minister. So France's main league, Dunzo, 1920 season not coming back. But from Telegraph Football, there's an infographic that says they need 300 people per match to end the lockdown and reboot the season. And they break down how many people are needed from staff, officials, media, like people just taking care of the stadium, basically everything. And some of these are TBD, so it could be a number even bigger than 300. I assume that they would have been trying for less than that. That seems like a massive number. You got to figure there's going to be 10 games a day in some sort of scenario. 20 teams, everybody's got to be playing. That's a lot of people constantly playing, constantly interacting. That makes me more pessimistic about seeing these things in the near future.
We'll see. We'll see what UFC 249 looks like, Ben. I don't imagine you're going to need as many employees, obviously, as the Premier League. We all agree on that. But if you still need 150 people or 125 people and it goes off without a hitch, it is going to tell us a lot of what we need to know in that, can we do this on a small scale and start to ramp it up? That's why I'm trying to be realistic as well, but like UFC 249 is happening. So we have to glean as much information from these things as we can. Bundesliga is going to be happening. That's going to be able to tell us if we can do something like this at a potentially larger scale.
Yeah, I mean, listen, to me, it's always been getting it off the ground. Of course, it's somewhat difficult, but to me, the harder part is what happens afterwards. I mean, if they wanted to play, they could, and it would go off, and then there would be, if they weren't ready, bad results weeks from now, months from now. That's the part that I worry about. UFC is going to happen. I'm super excited for it. There's going to be monster DFS things and repercussions. We're going to cover all of it, of course. What happens afterward? Do they pay a serious price for doing that? Or does it go off with no problems? And then it does set the stage for maybe ramping up some of the larger scale events.
All right. Yeah. So we had some potentially good news, some bad news. Italy's prime minister said, Serie A teams begin individual training on May 4th. Social distancing mandated. Teams can start training together on May 18th. La Liga, the top league in Spain, may not be returning anytime soon, according to Spain's health minister. And then the NFL, as we saw yesterday, are actively working on backup plans should the league be unable to start on September 10th. But let me tell you something. That's actually good news. You may view that as bad news, but there's good news in saying that they're forward thinking. And if it can't start on September, they're not going to be out of whack. And if they needed to push it back a month, they could do that and still have it start. So if they said they're revealing its regular schedule in May, and as part of that exercise, they're building in the potential that it might not be able to start until mid-October. As long as there's backup plans for sports that weren't interrupted or weren't expected to start in like 2 weeks as baseball was, then I still think there's some positive news to take away from that. Although, everything kind of sucks right now. You guys have anything else on this, on these sports starting back up?
No, I think we'll have to wait. Listen, the news is going to continue to trickle in. And when it does, we're going to update you and give our takes on what we think is going to happen. But that's all I think anyone can really do at this point.
Okay.
I have a quick question for both of you guys. You guys might know it off the top of your head. It's sort of related. So we were just talking about like Italy potentially coming back for soccer, France coming out saying that they are definitely done. Bundesliga is supposed to be coming back. I'm looking at the data for coronavirus right now. Spain, 23,000 deaths, Italy, 27, France, 23. So, mid-20s in deaths. Germany's at 6 with a similar amount of cases. Did they do something different, or is this a data thing?
No, that's a whole different discussion, but they have done seemingly some things different to kind of counteract that, and they've gotten some credit for it. Now, it's hit and miss. Sluffy, you can speak more to that if you want. But yeah, they have been noted for kind of being pretty innovative in containing it.
Yeah, this is probably a conversation for another time, but I don't know. I mean, you look at countries like Sweden, and it's really hard to take anything away from what each of them are individually doing. I don't know the answers to that. So
it just seems so crazy to me to have the same amount of cases.
I'm saying that different countries are doing different things, and some are working out better than others. That's all I'm getting
For
at.
sure. For sure.
So,
Yeah, I just don't know if we should be looking at that like, wow, the Bundesliga probably has a pretty good shot given this data, or are we to believe this data? Are they probably just, or should I be as pessimistic for German soccer as I am for Italian soccer, Spanish soccer, and English soccer?
I'm not. Like, I think Bundesliga is going to come back, and I put it in a different category than Serie A and La Liga and these other leagues.
There's comments in chat too that like you can't judge whether one contest or one event can't judge whether or not it's going to work. But you're missing the point. You can take a look at their framework, and based on that framework, see if there's actually something they did right there. I do think you can learn from that. It's not like you take exactly what they did and do that. And it's not like it's, one case study in this event is going to make it worthwhile. But if you look at how they did things, if they did things right and they took proper precautions, you'd have to at least applaud that and potentially take some of that information and apply it to further events. But we move on here. We'll keep updating you on this as always. It's the most important thing we've got. So we'll keep doing it. And there's a lot of opinions in chat. I certainly have my own opinions on this. So I will keep them to myself for now, much to Ben's pleasure.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben.
Hey,
what's the worm?
The worm. Yeah. Well, Last Dance has been going on. Chad, if you've been watching it, we want to hear your thoughts on episodes 3 and 4. They were, I guess, Dennis Rodman centric. I didn't know a ton of his backstory. I certainly was too young to remember him on the Pistons. Josh, seeing that kind of dichotomy of him being part of the bad boy Pistons, and then, with Chuck Daly and how he had a mentor, then he lost it, got a little crazy on the Spurs. Phil Jackson filled that void perfectly when he came to the Bulls. I found him to be the most interesting character so far that we've seen.
I think it's interesting how obviously the lead up, he's not there through youth or anything along those lines, but Rodman to Chuck Daly has a lot of Tyson Cuss parallels where he just kind of needed a person to be his sort of grounding for doing sorts of crazy stuff. Got a little bit back with Phil Jackson after, he ended up sort of washing out of San Antonio, or at least not being wanted it's not like he didn't play well in San Antonio, but they got over his shtick real quick. It's a weird dude. Like at the time Rodman is playing for the Bulls, we'll say that he's the third best player on the Bulls. You could make a case that it's Tony Kukoc, but like, let's just say that it's third. Could you imagine if Eric Bledsoe this season was like, I need to go to Vegas for 72 hours. Like I'm out for a bit. And everybody was like, okay. And then as a news story, we just see him at casinos and parties and stuff with like the who's who actresses of the league. Like that's insane to me to think that the third best player of arguably the best team in the league just is like, I need a vacay.
It was nuts.
Go ahead, Bobby. Is it strange to you to think that Carmen Electra and he had sex on the Bulls practice court?
No, I would do the exact same thing if I could do that.
That's the least surprise. Like when I heard that, I didn't know it, but I just assumed that before I even heard it at this point.
I had an overwhelming feeling of jealousy.
Yeah, I would have sex with myself on the practice facility court if I could.
I mean, it's just, like when you're younger, it was exciting to, hit a different location. And let's not act like we don't know what I'm talking about, right? But the Bulls practice court, that's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's probably better than the Mile High Club.
I would want the dude from the announcer from the Bulls to introduce me before I do it.
They do have a great even though I can't stand the Bulls. Listen.
Would you want a color commentary and like play-by-play on it?
I don't need that sort of investment. The intro is all we need.
You'd be paying
there's not going to be a lot of there's not a lot of color commentary going on here.
I was going to say, you pay them for a minute and their job is done. It's no big deal.
Not a bad job, right?
Not a bad job at all.
Yeah, I could post mine on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
His story is interesting though, from like the Pistons to the Bulls, where basically like he needed a coach to essentially put his arm around him and tell him everything's going to be okay.
Listen,
You ready? Lofty, I know you'll enjoy this. 1994-95, 1995-96, back-to-back seasons. Take a guess what Dennis Rodman's offensive rebound rate was. So
I don't know, but Adam and I talked about this yesterday. So for anyone wondering, and I just, just so people that might not be entirely familiar with like good overall rebound rates, take someone like Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond's rebound rate this year was 22%. He has a 24.5% total rebound rate. His offensive rebound rate is 16%, which is extraordinarily high. Yeah. So do I have to put Rodman over 20%?
20.8 in 94-95, 19.9 in 95-96. He led
insane.
The league in offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding rate for 5 straight seasons. Periodically picked up some of those rates at other times, but both offensive and defensive rebounding rate for 5 straight years, he had the highest. He led the league in rebounding rate for 8 straight years.
He averaged from 91 to 98. His rebounds were per game 19, 18-3, 17-3, 17, 14-9, 16-1, and 15. That's insane.
If you scoop that whole range up, he rebounded 25.4% of shots, offensive and defensive. Man, one out of every 4 balls that were available to be rebounded when Dennis Rodman was on the floor went to Dennis Rodman.
Ben, just to put this in context, Andre Drummond, probably the best rebounder in the game that we know right now, averaged 16 or more rebounds once, and it was 16.0. Dennis Rodman did it 5 times in a 6-year period.
He alluded to this in the show. Obviously, the shadow cast when you have Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen is ridiculous, but you can't speak enough to he did a vital skill better than I've seen anybody do it. It can't be talked about how important he was to those teams. Obviously the eccentric stuff on and off the court is one thing, but just when he was on the court, he played as important as a role as anybody for those Bulls teams. It's not talked about enough.
I never would have.
You mentioned those total rebounds for Drummond. Drummond's best season per 100 possessions, 23.7 total rebounds per 100 possessions. Rodman has 6 seasons better than that.
It's insane. It's really, really crazy.
26-6 in 100 possessions.
It's inexplicable, especially given that he's way shorter than Andre Drummond. Shorter than Andre Drummond.
6'7".
Right? 6'7". It's crazy as well to think that we're at a period right now where basketball playoffs should be in full swing. Baseball should be entering its 2nd month. Just like the NFL draft just happened, but it was virtual. There's so much that should be happening. Hockey playoffs would be in full swing. And the biggest thing in sports is a Michael Jordan documentary. I just never thought that we'd be there, but we are. However, we've got some really good props on DraftKings Sportsbook to get into. And that's why this draft was so vitally important to our mental health from a sports fan perspective during all of this. Because they've got Offensive Rookie of the Year awards. They've got player futures, and they have rookie futures. And as we look this up, there are 5 receivers, Ben. 5 rookie receivers that have player props this season. And the one with the highest prop is actually Jerry Jeudy at 850.5. No other player, no other rookie receiver that was drafted in the first round, because they only have the first rounders. No other first round rookie has a player prop above, or a receiving prop above 800, while Jerry Jeudy is at 850.
I mean, for me, I'm not that surprised. I like Jeudy a ton. And it's a weird combination of you had What I view as maybe the better receivers going to spots that are a little more crowded, whereas some of the, I don't know, guys that maybe aren't going to hit the ground running, whether it's Ruggs, Rager, those types, they may have more opportunities, but I don't think they're as ready to contribute. So those suppress the numbers. And then you have the one that I want to get to the most is CeeDee Lamb, explosive talent, but Amare, Michael Gallup, Zeke, it's not exactly like they're going to be looking for him primarily from the get-go.
Josh, I look at these props and I see 5 different players, all of whom are probably going to end up being pretty good, but all of them have some type of hurdles to have. And in the wide receiver position, it's pretty difficult to have big rookie years. When it happens, you hear about it because it's significant. All of these guys have pretty considerable hurdles. CeeDee Lamb actually has a lower receiving prop in his rookie year. It's at 750.5 than Rager, Ruggs, Judy, and Justin Jefferson.
It's so hard for me to like sift through something like this. So if we've got Jerry Judy at 850, and I'll use your boy Rager for 800, what do we think that like the versus prop would be here on more receiving yards, Judy versus Rager? Like that, it's going to be real tight, right?
Oh yeah.
I'd say like minus 130.
Okay. That makes this so difficult. So difficult. Like even just looking at these props, we have to think about it like, wow, probably 2 of these guys are going to be looked at as like wild disappointments. There's 2 of them will be like right around it, and 1 of them will be good.
So there's so many variables, right? Like Anthony Marcus says Drew Lock is the problem for Judy, but we don't know that he's going to be a problem. As a matter of fact, Ben's very high on Drew Lock. If Drew Lock ends up having a good season, Courtland Sutton and Jerry Judy both have big years. But there are variables, Ben, and that's what I'm talking. Like Henry Ruggs is contending with Derek Carr. Jalen Rager, if Deshaun Jackson and Alshon stay healthy and you've got Ertz and Dallas Goedert and Marcus Goodwin is involved, we don't know. So all of these guys definitely have some factors that play into whether or not they can be successful. But Drew Lock could actually be pretty good. I want to ask you because we talked about Drew Lock the other day. What would you set a line at that a rookie receiver, and it can be any rookie receiver this year, that a rookie receiver has 1,000-yard season?
I mean, close to a lock.
What'd you say?
I would say like close to a lock.
I mean, I'd definitely say it's the favorite. I don't know about a lock. I'm going to look at this. We have 5 guys on this list. I think it has to come from one of these 5. I'd be pretty stunned if it was. Maybe I shouldn't say that. There's a couple other guys. I think Jefferson, to me, is the one who's most live to have a monster year just because of the opportunity and the structure at quarterback. Kirk Cousins, very effective in Minnesota. Thielen is there. Diggs is not. He legitimately could be the second target in terms of target share for the Vikings offense.
I'm an idiot, but I can back that up. Okay. I just ran a Pro Football Reference. I should have never said lock.
I was literally pulling it up right now. 1,000-yard rookie seasons are
11.
They're very uncommon. That's what I'm saying.
There have been 11.
They're very uncommon
since 2000, which I think is like an easy place to cut that off.
So, but it's still like once every 2 years. I would put it at like minus 120, honestly. Maybe
there's only been 35 over 800.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's really difficult to hit 1,000 yards because there's so many different things play into it.
But it's basically like 2 a year over 800.
It's transitioning though, whereas the likelihood of this happening in 2020 versus 2000 is not even comparable.
There were 4 guys over 800 last year that were rookies. Can you guess them?
Say it again.
4 guys had over 800 yards receiving as a rookie last year. Can you guess them?
AJ Brown.
Yes. Yeah, definitely AJ Brown.
Hollywood Brown.
No,
I don't think he hit it. McLaurin.
Yes.
I never would have got him. DK Metcalf.
Yes.
Debo.
Bing. Got it.
You got the hard ones, man. I would not go in there either. Good job, Loughran.
But
before that, we start. This seems like a really good list of quality. If we just go up, like I have this sorted by year: Ridley, Juju, Cooper Kupp, Michael Thomas, Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham, Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin looking a little weird, Sammy Watkins, Jordan Matthews, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Blackmon, who was incredible but didn't get to keep playing, Hilton, Josh Gordon, AJ Green, Julio Jones. Like, hitting 800 seems to be these guys go on. If you hit 800 as a rookie, these guys seem to continue to be good.
Right. Yeah. Generally speaking, yes. And I think one guy worth considering in chat, actually, Nicholas brought him up. I think it's reasonable to consider somebody like Denzel Mims as a legitimate threat to put up a decent season. Now, we don't know if he's going to be great, but we do know that Robbie Anderson is gone. And that team isn't exactly loaded with young, studly talent. So, who's his biggest competition there? Jamison Crowder?
Sam Darnold is the big.
Oh yeah, of course. And we don't know if Sam Darnold is going to be any good. But you know what? Quarterbacks can make progress. If they do, I think Mims is at least an interesting option to get into, which leads me to the next question here. You're talking about player awards, offensive rookie of the year, and you have somebody like Denzel Mims at plus 8,000. Ben, who do you have here as your favorite right now long shot to potentially win rookie of the year? And by long shot, we can take some liberties with that. I'm going plus 2,000 or higher, basically.
Yeah, so 20 or 1 or better.
Yeah.
Chad, if you've got some dark horses, throw them in, because I think it's pretty wide open. But you know where I'm going. Laviska Shenault, 100-1. He's on the Jaguars. You can look at it two ways. He's got a brutal quarterback situation, but I legitimately think he could be their best receiver right off the bat. He's in a division, the Titans, the Colts, the Texans. That doesn't scare me. He's going to see them 6 times. And this is a guy that if he is healthy, and it's a huge if, we have seen him. He's an incredibly physical receiver. I think he translates much better immediately than these other guys. So for 100-1, with a guy that could see massive, massive targets, that's an easy choice for me for an extreme long shot.
Okay. You really like that guy.
Listen, this is a guy that you never say certain, but if he did not get hurt and if he didn't play at Colorado, he would have been in the discussion for that first receiver off the board. He's extremely physical, not the best route runner in my opinion, but those things can be taught. I'm super high. I think his floor is incredibly low, but I think his ceiling is higher than almost anyone. And that's what you're going for when you're taking a long shot future.
Josh, I think there's some potential holes in looking at some of these offensive rookie of the year props. And I'll tell you why. Jonathan Taylor plus 1,000. Frank Wright, I find it unlikely that he doesn't use him, but because we know he will. But I also find it unlikely that Marlon Mack, who's in the last year of his rookie contract and probably won't get paid, but I find it unlikely that Marlon Mack isn't also used pretty heavily. DeAndre Swift was the guy we were very excited about. He was number 1 in all fantasy rookie rankings, and now he's dropped a bit because Kerryon Johnson is a young running back who Detroit also likes. There's a few of these guys. J.K. Dobbins is plus 1,600. Swift is plus 1,200. All of those guys, Ingram on the last year of his contract, but he's definitely going to get work. So all of them are into timeshares, whereas somebody like Cam Akers at plus 2,000 at least seems to have the path of least resistance in that Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson are the 2 guys that he's going up against. And it seems likely, at least, that if he plays well, he could easily take over that backfield faster than a lot of these other guys who were drafted ahead of him.
I just can't stop looking at Burrow. I don't know how it's not him unless he gets hurt. Or
we're talking long shots.
Right. It's just so hard for me to look at a group of like it's not even like predicting their success. This is basically like an exercise in predicting opportunity.
Well, that's why I'm talking about Cam Akers not necessarily being in a timeshare, whereas Taylor and Swift and Dobbins almost certainly will be.
Like when I look at that, I just feel like I can't get like 20-1 isn't going to work for me in those spots. Yeah.
Like 5% on Cam, like you're equating it in terms of percentage. Like people, and this is Chad, I get it. Laviska Shenault, a million question marks. Do I think he has better than 1% chance to win Rookie of the Year?
That's the thing. He's plus 10,000.
that lands better for me.
But that's also a wide receiver. At running back, the likelihood that a running back earns Rookie of the Year just based on opportunity is higher anyway.
Yeah, I want to look at the history of the Rookie of the Year award right now.
While you look that up, Ben, I want to talk about a couple of these running backs. I know we're both big on Cam Akers this year. I'm okay with 20-1. I think a 5% shot with Sean McVay as your coach in a backfield that doesn't have a ton of talent. And I don't want to say they've given up on Henderson, but he certainly isn't happy with what he's seen, or at least based on how he's used him, it would suggest that. Then you've got Keyshawn Vaughn. I wasn't thrilled that the Bucs drafted him. Not because I don't like him. I don't know enough about him to not like him, but I was hoping they would have found a way to get one of these, more highly touted backs, even a J.K. Dobbins or an Akers, Swift, obviously Taylor. I thought Taylor was perfect because he has a ton of mileage, but so does the entire offense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, and they have a short window, so why not just ride him till the wheels fall off? But Vaughn now plus 2,500, so 25-1 odds on a could be explosive Bucs offense. For someone that's down on the Bucs, where do you stand on Vaughn?
He's tough. He went to Vanderbilt. They have their struggles in football, and they certainly did last year. So I don't know how fair of a shake you can take what you saw from him playing in the SEC. He's definitely different than Ronald Jones and what they have there. He can catch the ball. I think they can use him. The problem for him is I don't see any path where he's taking a serious share of the workload. I think he's going to have to get it done with efficiency and not volume. That's always a difficult thread. That's why I like Cam Akers. I think there's a chance he sees more carries than any other back in this rookie class. And when you have volume like that, you just have obviously more opportunities to make explosive plays.
Anthony McFarland is plus 10,000. Now, if I were to take, say, Chenault or a running back at plus 10,000, my preference is go with the running back because a lot of things can work in their favor where injuries to the backfield open things up almost immediately, whereas injuries to a wide receiver, you're still relying on a quarterback to get you the ball. Granted, you have to rely on good blocking at the running back position. Plus 10,000, I know you've put a lot of work into this Anthony McFarland research and really liked him coming into the league. He's plus 10,000 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year on a Steelers team that has done a pretty good job of developing running backs, many of whom people had not heard of.
So it's tough. I truly think that he's better as a dynasty pick because I don't know how often he hits the ground running immediately outside of an injury to Connor. He is unique in the sense the Steelers don't have a guy like this. I don't think Jalen Samuels is like this at all. He's incredibly explosive. He reminds me of the way Maryland used DJ Moore in college. Certainly a different position, but this is someone that gives the Steelers a different type of weapon. Not to get extreme, but Kamara is the type of player that comes to mind. I'm not saying he's Kamara, but if they find a niche for him or if someone goes down, Andy McFarland is the type of guy in a couple years or even maybe later this year, we could say, wow, what a steal with a low variant, a low risk pick. They didn't reach to get him by any stretch.
Yeah, I don't think they did either. Josh, did you pull that up?
I've got all sorts of stuff here now.
Oh boy.
Okay. What do you have? Cause I want to move on to our rookie running backs after this. I think we're going to get real interesting from a dynasty perspective.
Yeah, so obviously last year, Kyler, then Saquon, Kamara, Dak, Todd Gurley, 2015, Odell, 14. Eddie Lacy won it in 2013, which is crazy to think about at this point. Do you think it's do they have it broken down? More likely to be a quarterback or a running back? I'm asking you guys.
Based on the way the league votes, quarterback, but I think this year running back.
4 running backs in the last 7 years, 2 quarterbacks, 1 wide receiver.
Okay.
This year specifically, I think it's running back. I think of the 3 quarterbacks that have a shot. I don't think Herbert's going to play immediately, so he's gone. I think Burrow's team is going to be so bad that Kyler Murray showed some promise late. I don't know if the Bengals are going to do that. And then you have Tua, who, if he stays healthy and they give him a shot, but right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, Ryan Fitzpatrick is the favorite, almost 2-1 to start week 1. So it's not a given that Tua sees 16 games, even if he's completely healthy.
Yeah. Running, it's all opportunity. It really is. Like a quarterback can have a really good season. And if they do, now, if a quarterback has even a decent season, let's say throws 21 touchdowns and 10 interceptions and 3,500 yards, they're probably going to win it. Like last year, didn't Kyler Murray win it last year?
He did.
And he had 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and 3,700 yards. Normally, that's not a very good season, but because he was a rookie quarterback, he won it.
I mean, when it comes to running back, it's basically just touchdown luck. If you get enough carries to score a touchdown, you are more likely to get it. Like Eddie Lacy's rookie year is not all that great. They finished 8-7-1 in his rookie year, but he scored 11 rushing touchdowns as a rookie.
What year was that?
13. He had like 284 carries, just over 1,000 yards rushing. If you can get in the end zone, that means everything.
Yeah. I mean, then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's going to be a name that we're obviously going to talk about in a minute. I mean, he has the best opportunity just because he's on a Chiefs offense that is going to be putting up a ton of points. Now, he's not even close to the primary option, but man, he should have opportunities to find the end zone more than these other guys.
So that 2013 year, E.J. Manuel was the first quarterback off the board, and then Geno Smith at 39 was the second quarterback off the board.
So basically like Burrow and Tua.
Yeah. No, I think
Jordan Love and Hurts.
I think there's a better chance this year of a quarterback getting it than that year.
Yeah, no doubt.
For sure. But I'm just pointing out that there were not a single good quarterback.
Here's another question for 2013 for you guys. It's same vein. Eddie Lacy went 61st overall, second round pick for the Packers. What do you think Eddie Lacy's odds were to win the Rookie of the Year at that point? I don't have an answer. I assume that this could be found, but
big.
Like, who would be the comp in the odds that we have?
Where did he get drafted? Because it doesn't
mid-second round. So like Jalen Hurts.
I'd say plus 2,000.
Yeah, I'd probably take the over on that. It depends on, I mean, obviously a lot of things, but now the landscape, even though that's only 5-6 years ago, Lough, you talked about this yesterday, it's basically extinct that a rookie running back comes in or anyone has a full workload. Like it is a timeshare. All these guys, Swift, Taylor, CEH, they all have massive competition, and that's the way it's going to be going forward.
Yeah. Akers might not. We don't know. He might not. And we don't know if Bruce Arians has any need to play Ronald Jones. If he doesn't, well, then Keyshawn Vaughn also becomes very interesting. And that's why when Nicholas brought up Denzel Mims in chat, I'll always entertain that conversation if there's no competition there. And I think some of these players have that. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary.
A.J. Dillon.
Who?
A.J. Dillon to the Packers, which I didn't get. Aaron Jones, like, come on.
Right. Tough. There's I don't think what the hell is his name? Darrington Evans. He's not even on the there. Titans.
No role unless Henry goes down.
Right. But then you got Henry on the last year of his contract or his franchise. So, anything can happen. But yeah, I think like with Clyde Edwards-Helaire plus 700, he is the second best odds tied with Tua. Give me Cam Akers there all day. Give me Vaughn there all day. You're just getting so much better odds on a team that could definitely utilize them more. And that's simply enough because that's just how I view this process when it comes to future picks.
That's how I think you do. Listen, we say this all the time in DFS. Who's more likely to win the Rookie of the Year, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Cam Akers? It would be Edwards-Helaire. Is he 3 times as likely? To me, the answer is no. So when you're getting 20-1 versus like 7-1, that's where the value potentially comes in. And that's why, like you, Luffy, I would roll with Akers before going with a 7-1 guy like that.
Run the Bases asked, do you guys think Dobbins will get much run next year? I think Dobbins, well, Mark Ingram's on the last year of his contract. My guess is the idea is for Harbaugh to make Dobbins the starting running back by 2021.
That's just, go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
No. I'm changing it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, they're the one team you don't even have to just solely look at the running back, because Lamar is the actual threat to his volume. And that's something that's so unique.
Yes, I don't disagree with that at all. They do still, however, run the ball at an incredible amount, not even including Lamar Jackson.
No, just more for touchdowns, though. Like Lamar keeps a lot of those around the red zone.
Agree. But if we're talking Dynasty as we make our way over there, hey, hit that thumbs up, by the way, if you're hanging out with us today. Appreciate it. Glad to have everyone. Hit that thumbs up. It helps us out a ton by liking the video. If you're mobile, you can click out of the chat. You'll see the thumbs up right there. If you're unfamiliar with how all of this works, the YouTube algorithm does not like the little guys. So, just trying to do enough to keep it moving here during this shutdown. And believe it or not, it is a massive help to us when we hit that thumbs up and get the word out to more people. So, okay. Look at
Eddie
this.
Lacy was 7-1. Yeah, I just found the same link that T McBee's dropping in there now.
Yeah, so T McBee, I want to get to Dynasty rookies here, but just quickly, Tavon Austin 5-1, Monty Ball 11-2, colossal disappointment, as is like every single Denver running back that people think is going to be good. Lacy 7-1, Gino 10-1, Hopkins 12-1. So okay, that's
a lot of guys with lower odds, I feel, than what we're looking at now. Like it's
because of the quarterback position was so bad that year.
Yeah, that's true.
It has to be. But with Dynasty rookie runners, like this is what makes it difficult, Josh, to figure out who's going to be the best and where you should draft them and not get caught up in the here and now. Because when you're talking Dynasty rookies, whether it be running back, wide receiver, whatever, if you're only drafting them for who's going to be the starter this year and not looking at, like I said, okay, Mark Ingram's not going to be there probably next year. Maybe the Packers won't pay Aaron Jones. You're someone that pays a lot of attention to contracts. I know mostly with other sports, but that's something you have to figure or factor into making decisions in Dynasty, because you're looking to get these guys for the long haul and not just for 1 year.
Yeah, this is no different than the way that we were just talking about the draft over the past week. The goal is to make selections that provide more value than you would have expected to get at that pick, if possible, or the best possible value that you can get long term. Being efficient with drafting is going to be massive either direction. The better you can be at acquiring talent for as long as possible, as cheaply as possible, it's going to pay dividends for you down the road. No different here than it is for the regular NFL draft.
It's not. And Ben, first of all, if you guys are watching and you don't play Dynasty, even if you're like strictly DFS, Dynasty is a whole lot of fun. Like pretty much all the leagues I do now are Dynasty and then Best Ball and those guillotine leagues. Pretty much don't have any just regular redraft season long leagues. I love Dynasty football. And one of the reasons for it, Ben, is you're making decisions that impact your team, not just this year, but down the road. And you're trying to find the balance of, can they produce now, but also later? And not just going for the shiny new toy. Like specifically Cam Akers being a guy where I think he can produce now and he can produce down the road. But then somebody like, say, DeAndre Swift, I do think he might have a rough year or two and then takes over in that backfield. You have to find the balance there with all of these positions. And that's why we're talking about the running backs.
Yeah. And just to add to it quickly, I was a little unfamiliar with Dynasty, but it's a popular thing and it is growing. We have content centered around that. It's going to be coming out. We have a whole package coming for all these types of leagues, because I know they're going to be big leading up to the season. So stay tuned for that on the Dynasty front. And what you said is true. I think someone like Cam Akers is going to be, I don't want to say overvalued, but he's going to be a hot commodity because he has the best of both worlds. His future is bright and he can be pretty impactful immediately. Then there are guys, AJ Dillon comes to mind, Anthony McFarland, if you believe what I do, that I don't know if they'll contribute much this year, depending on what happens in front of them. But long term, it's very possible that they do end up getting a prominent role, whether it's where they are or somewhere else. Things happen. So you're trying to find that balance. And like Josh said, if you do your job and get value on each pick, everything else takes care of itself. Some won't work out, but more than not, they will. And that's really all you can ask for.
Josh, the average career length of a running back is 2.57 years. Now, granted, we're taking into consideration everybody, right? Yeah. But one thing we do know is that running backs certainly have a shorter shelf life. Yes. I feel like them and then closers in baseball, because closers can be amazing one year and then just terrible the next year. Running backs, they just wear out. How much emphasis do you put on somebody like Jonathan Taylor, who, if you look at this, I mean, this is just where it gets crazy. Jonathan Taylor, talent-wise, has a ton to like. But then you take a look at his career numbers, and he has 926 attempts. He has almost 1,000 total touches in 3 years, 700 of which have come over the last 2. He's had 300 plus touches in all 3 years. And now he goes to a Colts team where, what if they want to work him in and give him half the touches and Marlon Mack the other half? Now you're just building up reps on this guy. So maybe he'll never be able to become a legitimate bell cow back, because by the time he is, he'll already have 1,200 plus touches on his back.
Yeah, I would be paying close attention to who I thought could be most involved in the passing game. I think those are the types of running backs that you want to look for in this scenario, because they're more likely to be around longer. The guy that's just like jamming it into the line constantly would be terrifying to me.
Yeah, I definitely would worry about that, especially because, Ben, as running backs begin to wear down, many of them can still be used in the passing game if they have that capability. Jonathan Taylor only has 42 total receptions through his 3-year college career at Wisconsin. Is he someone that just wasn't utilized appropriately in the passing game, or is he someone that we can't trust to pass block and can't trust to make receptions?
To me, it's both. He didn't have the opportunities that a lot of other guys have in different systems, but at the same time, I don't think that they had a dynamic pass catcher that they just refused to utilize. Between that and the fumbles, he lost double-digit fumbles over his career at Wisco. That is a problem. And listen, can he shore that up? Of course, but those carries are serious. That reminds me, like Cedric Benson, when he came in with Texas, they ran him into the ground, and you saw it in the NFL. Those carries add up. I know Derrick Henry's kind of the exception to the rule right now, but I'm in line with Josh. Give me a guy that can get in space, can be more like Kamara. You can extend the shelf life a ton. And in full point PPR, that's really where you get all your value from anyway. So I am more apt to find those explosive guys that aren't going to be getting 20 touches, but can make the most of them.
So if you're using Fantasy Pros rankings right now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is 1 overall at the position, and 1 at the running back position, and 1 overall. Jonathan Taylor is 2 overall, 2 at the position. So 1 and 2. DeAndre Swift, 3 and 3. Okay. So 1, 2, and 3, all of them running backs right now. I kind of take issue with this, with Taylor and Swift still being 2 and 3. I would have bumped Akers up. Probably I right now, if I was drafting and I had the 1 pick, I'd probably take CEH, but I might take Akers 2nd overall. I might even take him 1st overall, Ben, because then you get down to Dobbins 4 overall or 5th overall, 4th running back, Cam Akers 7th overall, 5th running back, Keyshawn Vaughn 6th running back, 14 overall, then Zach Moss, AJ Dillon, Antonio Gibson, basically that gadget player, and Anthony McFarland. Right now, in terms of immediate production and potential future production, I don't see why Cam Akers is so far apart from those guys, just given their current situations, and we don't know how long that'll last.
Me neither. Listen, I mean, I'm a big Florida State guy. Cam Akers has everything that I want, and he has just an opportunity that seems different than any other back right now. I think if the Rams give him what I think they will, we're going to see a big rookie year from him. So I don't think it's a reach to elevate him in your rankings, and see what's what. There's a couple other guys that if they were drafted by the Rams, I'd be saying the same thing. It's partly because I like Akers as a player and partly because I like his opportunity.
Location is landing spot is so important.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about that with the Packers and there's where you are and the role you're playing is almost as important as your talent in some situations.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. Todd Gurley last year, 251 snaps, 223 rushing attempts. Would you say over or under that for Akers this season?
I'd go under in his rookie year, but I still think let me put it to you this way. I still think Akers can lead all running backs in touches. Rookie running backs.
Okay.
Same. On both.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're trying to get an idea of what volume you guys are expecting.
I still think Marlon Mack's going to be used a lot. I still think there's no reason to believe Curry Johnson isn't used. Mark Ingram plus, as Ben pointed out, Lamar Jackson, Devin Singletary, Aaron Jones, like all of these guys, as I go down the list, James Conner, he's the one guy where it's like you look at the rest of his backfield and you don't say those guys are currently better than him or those guys are good enough to contribute quite a bit. Akers is the guy for me. Keyshawn Vaughn might be one of those guys as well, but I don't know enough about him to suggest that he could be a starter out of the gate.
Do you expect Akers to be better than Gurley last year?
Last year?
Yeah. Is Akers an upgrade at the position over Todd Gurley coming into this year?
I could see that being the case. Ben?
I'd rather have Akers, but that's partly because, of course, long term. But yeah, even in a vacuum for 1 year, I think it's very close.
So last year, Todd Gurley finished 14th in PPR points, but that's also because he had 12 touchdowns. I mean, he only had 857 yards in 15 games. If Cam Akers is used in the red zone, I absolutely think it's possible. Ben, we'll let you close this out. Anthony McFarland, he's right now. So we got a little like about a minute to go. Anthony McFarland, 24th overall, 10th running back off the board. Would you suggest to anyone right now that's about to do their dynasty drafts that McFarland needs to be on their radar late in the second, early in the third?
Yeah, I really would. You're going to have to take it, of course, like anything. You're trying to build a balanced portfolio and a balanced team. You don't want to say, I need someone to impact me now. I'm going to go for Anthony McFarland. I think that's pretty dire. But if you're saying, you know what, I feel pretty good, I'm looking a little long-term, this is a guy that I think they will see they need to get on the field. And he is so different than James Conner. I think he's gonna carve out a role immediately. And if, like I said, if he does have that gear with Kamara-esque speed and breakaway ability, Anthony McFarland is a name that I don't think is going to be out there. You're going to be able to wait a little bit, and long-term could be a huge reward if you get it right.
We'll get into a lot more of this tomorrow. We've got a lot on the list for this week, so stick with us. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, it's the Awesemo Morning Show. Hit that thumbs up and head over to awesemo.com as well, /join esports, and check that package out. Ownership, player projections, top stack tool, everything you need to win at League of Legends, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Rocket League. We've got it. Awesemo.com /join esports. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, kind of bright and early, right here on the morning show.